Hey, it's Christine, and we are going to go over the scorecard or the data page today. So the data page is in the left-hand side. A lot of people call this the scorecard, and what it is it's a collection of all the metrics that are important to you. So in the system, we call these measurables. Usually a company will have what they call a focus day to set up what their initial scorecard really is and decide, hey, here's the most important things that we think we should be tracking at the leadership team level. And then as other companies start running level 10 meetings and getting involved in 90, they may start creating their own set of metrics that are important for them to review on a weekly basis. Now, within 90, it's not just reviewing on a weekly basis. We also have the ability to enter data at a monthly, quarterly, and annual interval within here. And so across each of these tabs, these are unique measurables. So the numbers that we're entering weekly are different from the numbers we would enter quarterly or annual. So just remember that there's not really a way to transition our information across the board, but we do have this trailing 4 and trailing 13 weeks tab, which helps us out a little bit with that. What it'll do within here is take the information that we've entered weekly that we're looking at right now and look at it on a 4-week basis, so monthly, or on a 13-week basis or quarterly. So we'll take a look at that in just a bit. First, I want to go over how to even create a measurable. So first, in order to create a measurable, you do need to be a manager role or higher. And so if you are, you'll see this plus sign next to weekly, or same thing if you go to the monthly, quarterly, and annual tab. It works the same way across the board. So when I click on this, I have two options. Do I want to add an existing measurable? So maybe there's already one in my account that I just want to pull onto this specific team scorecard. Or maybe you want to create and add a new one. So if you're starting from scratch, go ahead and click create and add new. And then what's going to come up is you defining what that is that you're going to start tracking. So put in a title. So what is it? New leads. We can define where are these coming from. It's information from Salesforce. Maybe there's a link to a filter you can put in here. So really just defining what you mean by this measurable that you're tracking so everybody has some context for what that is. You can decide, is this a percentage? Is it currency? Just a plain old number? Is it just something you want to report yes or no that happened every single week? Is it time? So you have a couple options there for tracking what that is and what the data entry is going to be like. And then you can enter the goal. So you maybe for new leads, I want to hit 50 a week, or maybe I just want to say, hey, yes, everyone did their new lead tracking that they were supposed to in that given week. So you can see how those measurables might start changing that way. So I'll use the yes/no metric just because I don't know if I have any examples built out in there quite yet. And then the final thing within here is the measurable owner. So I can choose who's going to be responsible for this item by clicking on the name and then even choosing an accountability chart seat that's related to them. I know I'm assigned to an accountability chart seat, so if there are multiple, it will let you choose which one you'd like to connect it to. And you'll notice up here at the top left, it goes in the reverse order. So it actually pulls up all of the accountability chart seats and then lets you choose the person based on the seat title. So either way, the only things that are really required are title and then your goal information. Once I click save, it gets added down here to the bottom of the list, and then we can start filling it in each week as the new weeks populate. Now, a couple other things. If I want to edit that specific information that I just added, I can click on the around the title, open up the details to the right. I can see the details here, change the goal, change how I'm tracking it. The goal orientation rule is going to be, is it successful when it's greater than, when it's less than, greater than or equal to. You can even set up mins and maxes. So if you want it to show up as green, if it's anywhere between 30 and 50, but over 50 should be red and under 30 should be red. You can set up those sort of min and max rules within here. And then the couple other options that we're going to see are the ability to hide the average or hide the total. So a great example of that is if you're using a percentage, you don't necessarily need to see a total of that percentage. So what we would do in that case is just hide the total so we don't need to see that anymore. Let me close that up. The total and the average column are two things that show up in the scorecard settings. So if we want to see those, it's in the top right. I can click on this gear icon and choose if I'd like to see those columns there at all. So you are welcome to turn those on or off at any time. You can also choose to see the measurable status color indicator, which is this green, yellow, red over here on the left-hand side, which tells you, hey, we've been on track for 3 weeks in a row, it's green. Red, we've missed all 3 weeks in a row, or yellow, it's just at risk, we've maybe missed 1 or 2 weeks, so just keep an eye on it. So those color indicators are there. And then 2 other options here. What day of the week do you want to start on? So you're always going to have a new week populating, but if it's not the 25th, do you want it to be the 26th, the 27th? You can control the day of the week that you're continually reoccurring that scorecard on. And then you're also going to choose if you would like to hide the current week. The reason you might hide the current week is because, for example, we run our meetings on Mondays. So we don't need to see this week's data Monday morning because it's just going to be a blank column because there's nothing there yet. So we typically hide the current week so that we can just look at Monday morning, last week's data, and have the information right there in front of us. So any changes you make of these top 4, average, total, status, and the start day, are going to affect the entire account. So every single team needs to have the same settings in that way. When you're talking about showing or hiding the current week, that'll be individual for the specific team that you're looking at. Alrighty, so now that we've covered that specific information, let's talk about the actual data that you're viewing here. So we can look at a specific date range if we'd like to. So if we want to pull this up, lets us select however many number of weeks. That's only 3, so it's not going to give us a lot of data, but you can see it shows up here, and then you can clear it out. That's a really easy way if you wanted to go back to last year or anything like that and see a lot of previous data. Makes it really easy. For your default team interval, this is just saying, hey, every time I come to this page, what do I want to be viewing? Most people use this rolling 13 weeks view just because it gives you the best look at, hey, your kind of rolling quarter. You can also use a quarter to date option if you'd like to, or the current quarter. So what's going to happen when you select current quarter or current year? It's going to give you some future dates. So you can't add any information into those future dates. You just know, hey, this is my current quarter. We're still working from most recent to our historical data. So our most recent information is still right here up at the front. And if we did want to enter any custom goals, so hey, we know everyone's on vacation the week of August 29th through 4th, we can notate that within here and then say, hey, instead of 34 being the goal, it really just needs to be 24 and we'll count that as a win. So you can update that in that way as well. Let me go back to my rolling 13-week view. Another way to adjust the goals for the future is going to be up here in the top right. So our goal forecasting option is going to open up. It's gathering our data right now, you'll see, so it'll take a little bit of an extra second, but it's going to pull up all of our future weeks. So now instead of looking back, we're actually looking forward. And instead of entering actuals, we're going to be entering our goals. So here we can see August, September, October. We can see that number 24 that we just entered a second ago. And so if we did have a custom goal for every single week, like if it's a measurable that's continually working up, maybe it's 25 and then we want to hit 26 and then we want to hit 27, you can enter all of those within here as that option. So a lot of times for measurables, when I have that situation where we're continually working up every single week, I'll actually make the goal what I'm looking to hit by the end of the quarter, and then just have the custom goal every single week entered in here. And that way, when we're looking at the scorecard, I have that context of here's what I'm looking to do by the end of this quarter, but my measurables will still be red or green based on the individual week that I'm in. So when you're done editing these, you can also add notes in this format as well. Go ahead and click close, and it'll pull back up your normal scorecard view. The couple other items that are in our filters bar are just going to be printing this to PDF. So if you want to get an export, you can also download it to Excel. So it lets you choose what you want to view. Maybe you want to view everything. So that's also an option there. And then, of course, if you want to search, so If I wanted to just look up my closed tickets or anything with closed in the title, I can pull up specific measurables in that way. And we already went over the settings icon. So back over here to the left-hand side, we've talked a lot about weekly. Let's go on to the trailing 4 and trailing 13 weeks. Like I mentioned earlier, this is still our weekly measurables, but it's looking at an aggregate of the data. So for trailing 14 weeks, or trailing 4 weeks, we have the last 4 weeks of data, and we can see what the actual is, 313, and then also what the goal was, which is over 122. And if I click on this item, the trailing 4 and 13 week calculation is going to be by default based on the total. So it's taking those 4 weeks of information, totaling them up, same thing with the goal, or you can change it to average. So if you'd prefer to have an average there, you can see how that just adjusted the numbers from that, 313 view. Now we're at 78.25. So you can choose based on the number that you're looking at if it makes more sense to have a total aggregate or a average aggregate. Again, another example of this is totals for percentages probably don't make too much sense, so we can click on this, change it to average, and now we've got our new to close percentage making a lot more sense in this more month over month view. If I scroll down, same thing for trailing 13 weeks. So you'll find the same information. You can see we changed that from a total to an average, and we have that over the last 13 weeks of data. So now we're looking at more of that quarter over quarter view. So this is the only one where we're really doing a real-time calculation of our weekly data. Once we move on to monthly, these are now brand new metrics that we want to track on a monthly basis. So it works the same way as weekly, where you create the measurable, then you can enter the number on a month-by-month basis. Same thing with the quarterly in the annual section. When we get to quarterly, there are some default measurables that we've added in here for you. So things like profit, cash, debt, all a little bit more like financial-based metrics are going to be in here. And then we also have your org checkup information. So if you do take the org checkup once a quarter, you can go ahead and enter your scores in here so you have that data over time as well. All right, so I think that covers most of our scorecard information. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. I know there's a lot of features we're looking to add in here, like being able to pull numbers from outside sources or being able to have smart measurables. So I could auto-calculate what a number is based on other numbers I've entered in the system to have a more formula-based solution. And those are all in the works. So really excited to update this video and get those out there. In the meantime, let us know if you have any questions, of course, through the live chat in the bottom right. Thanks.